On land, these elderly women, aged at least 60, have visible signs of aging, with grey hair, sagging and wrinkled skin. Some may suffer from poor eyesight and walk with a slight limp. Yet once they venture into the sea, their agility is remarkable. They exhibit incredible skill in catching aquatic animals and display impressive endurance while diving. They embody a society in which women continue to face oppression. Their way of life exemplifies sustainable fishing practices in an era when the world's resources are being exploited by industrialized fishing. The sea breeze blows against the strangely shaped dark rocks that stretch along the shore. In the distance, figures are swimming with a large orange buoy visible from afar beside them. After a while, they gradually return to the shore. They walk up the rocks in their black leotards, holding a float and a green net. Removal of the fins and masks reveal elderly divers, each at least 70 years old. They are Haenyeo, or the sea women of Jeju Island. Female divers, or Haenyeo, are in a profession that has been passed down among Jeju Island women for over 2,000 years. In the past, there were stories of men being the primary breadwinners for their families, venturing out on boats to fish far from the shores, often suffering accidents and fatalities. Consequently, a significant portion of the island's population was comprised of women and children. With no male head of the family, women took on the responsibility of caring for their households, handling tasks such as housework, farming and sea fishing. This tradition has endured through the ages and continues to this day. Their daily routine involves diving for abalone, sea urchins, sea cucumbers and seaweed. Some of the collected seafood is used for personal consumption, while the surplus is supplied to restaurants on the island.
줄 때 무슨 거 이제 강은에 해녀질 강은에 하다가 무슨 거 문어나 큰 거 하고 어디 거세게 한 거 이제 문어밖에 넣지 버릇이 그런 거나 잡으면은 지 거지지.
Jeju Island women have grown into formidable and proficient workers, becoming the strong pillars of families who are admired and honoured. This transformation is leading to significant changes in the family structure within this island society. Unlike the situation on the mainland, women on Jeju Island have become the primary breadwinners.
17에 물질을 배워한 21 나니까 이제 결혼을 하였어. 여기 이 땅에서 결혼을 하여서 애기들도 많이 나고 물질하면서 애기들 난 공부도 하고 이제 대학교도 결혼하였지만은 못 하여서 저 여상 나와서 이제 딸 하나는 이제 검찰에 수련반 들어가서 이제 직장 생활하고.
To be a Haenyeo, island girls must be trained by the elders of the family, such as their mother, aunt or sister, from as young as 10 years old. The girls have to learn to swim, dive and practice holding their breath for as long as possible without underwater breathing apparatus. They must practice working under the water, observing the weather, the sea conditions, the wind and the waves each day, as well as learning about each aquatic species. Additionally, they must practice coping with emergency situations, braving the cold darkness and the pressure underwater, demanding a resolute mind and a steadfast heart. Being a Haenyeo is far from an easy task. Even in their old age, these women can still undertake this demanding work.
가입을 허정하면은 해녀 학교 허여서 여기서 해녀 학교 허여서 물질을 하겠다 하면은 여기 동네 살곡 이제 살곡 이제 허여서 조합에 이제 저 수협에 들어서 이제 해녀 배왕에 이제 배워서 우리가 다 배워주지. 해녀들이 배왕 이제 숨드는 거나 다 뭐 더여오는 거나 그처럼 거기서 배워주고 허영 해녀질을 하겠다 하면은 이 동네 이제 우리 해녀에 돈도 내놓고.
Jeju Island lies in the southern region of the Korean peninsula, and the primary profession is fishing. One of the unique features of earning a livelihood from the sea around this island is a group of elderly women who continue to practice two traditional fishing methods. The first involves swimming from the shore to their intended destination and then diving underwater for their catch. The second method involves these women taking a small boat out into the middle of the sea and plunging to depths of more than 10 meters. They spend more than 2 minutes submerged in the frigid waters of the Korean Strait without the aid of scuba gear, a practice known as free diving. During this daring venture, they search for various aquatic creatures like fish, squid and shellfish, which hide among the rocks and seaweed. Then they'll use a hook to pry as many shellfish out into the net as possible. When they're almost running out of oxygen, they'll rush back to the surface and fill their lungs before diving back down to do the same thing again. These resilient women repeat this process over and over again. Sometimes 6 to 7 hours are spent at sea each time, all while juggling their household and farm responsibilities. The Haenyeo's uniqueness and long history are well known all over the world, and in 2016 UNESCO listed it as a cultural heritage. On the island there's a statue of Haenyeo standing by the sea. The grey colour of the Lady of the Sea statue contrasts against the blue of the ocean in the background. This monument stands as a tribute to the strong women of Jeju. Adjacent to it there's a museum that tells of their remarkable stories, offering visitors a deeper understanding of the strength and resilience exhibited by these extraordinary women.
여성들이 제주의 여자분들이 해녀의 물질 작업을 하게 된 것은 제주도 원래는 이제 물질 작업이 조선 시대 중반까지는 남자들이 많이 했었습니다. 전북 채취했었고 여자들은 주로 이제 얕은 바다에서 해조류를 채취를 했었는데 남성들이 힘든 전북 채취 작업이 너무 힘들어서 도망가거나 아니면 바닷가에 가서 이제 죽고 이렇게 하다 보니까 그 작업을 이제 여성들이 이어받으면서 주로 이제 여성들이 직업으로 이렇게 변천되어 왔습니다.
There's an exhibition of the life and work of Haenyeo over time. Haenyeo have been on Jeju Island for a long time, and their work tools haven't changed much. Cotton clothes became a wetsuit or skin-tight suit, providing freer movement and protection from the cold. In the original gear, they often needed to come ashore to chase away the cold by the fire. The modern wetsuit allows them to stay in the water longer, while the rest of the equipment remains unchanged.
물에 들어가면 탁탁탁탁탁탁탁 물에서도 탁탁탁탁탁탁 네가 탁탁탁탁 해요 추워. 근데 요새 고무 옷 나니까 그렇게 춥진 않았는데 위에 물적삼 희양한 거 입고 팬티 같은 거 그런 거 이제 소중기라고 그거 입어서 그냥 들어가면은 몇 시간 살지도 못하고 춥지 추워네. 바다에서도 막 탁탁탁탁 털어.
If you want to see more great content from all over the world, please like the video, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.
On the day we visited, the weather was relatively warm, but a wetsuit helps the body withstand the cold. Therefore, instead of surrounding the fire, the Haenyeo group sit around and enjoy watermelon to quench their thirst. This is the Haenyeo's normal life. When their amazing story began to spread, however, it attracted the attention of tourists. To avoid disrupting their way of life, the island has set up a spot for tourists to observe them in action. These performances are held twice a day in the morning and afternoon, each lasting half an hour. They showcase the Haenyeo dive to collect shellfish and algae, along with traditional folk singing and dancing. Tourists who come to Jeju Island often come to see this group of old ladies perform. Haenyeo emerge from the water and swim to the shallow shoreline before walking out of the water, all the while being watched and photographed by groups of tourists. The seaweed was thrown into the courtyard. They'll let it dry before selling it as an essential ingredient in almost every Korean dish. A palm-sized abalone is selected, dissected, cleaned and sent to a restaurant. Their daily work has turned into a fascinating spectacle for visitors. From simply earning a living, it's become a major tourist attraction. As each day passes, however, the older generation of Haenyeo diminishes and fewer young girls take up the mantle, causing this extraordinary tradition to gradually fade away.
해녀들이 60년대까지는 거의 뭐 한 2만 명도 이렇게 거의 대부분이 바닷가에 사는 여성들은 해녀 직업을 이제 갖추고 있었었는데 최근에는 이제 한 4천여 명으로 줄었습니다. 그리고 그 해녀들이 전부 다 그 나이가 많이 들고 거의 90%가 이제 60세 이상이 이렇게 되고 있고 해녀들이 점차 이제
The times have changed, and most people have taken up other professions, as labour-intensive and risky jobs like this are not preferred anymore. Even though she was not originally from Jeju Island, Kim Sun-ae, a woman from Seoul, was impressed by the abilities of the Haenyeo. So much so that she made the decision to move from the capital city to train as a Haenyeo on Jeju Island. She's been here for the past 3 years. At the age of 59, she is considered a young Haenyeo.
왜냐하면 이제 그 해녀 문화라는 것이 유네스코에 이제 등재됐잖아요. 그래가지고 그 해녀를 이제 해녀 문화가 끊겨질까봐 제주도에서 그거 문화를 계속 이어가기 위해서 우리 동네에 여기다가 해녀 학교를 세우고 그 다음에 이제 그 학교를 나오면 이렇게 직업을 가지고 있게끔 이제 자격을 줘가지고 라이센스 줘가지고 우리가 하게 된 거. 그리고 또 나는 이제 여기 이 동네 사니까 이제 해야 되고.
Due to the desire to preserve this special and traditional profession, there are currently Haenyeo schools on the island. These schools aim to accept women who are interested in learning to dive and catch marine animals to continue the traditional way of life. Jeju Island is located quite far from the mainland, approximately 130 kilometers. It was formed from volcanic eruptions millions of years ago. The entire island is covered with unique black rocks that were created by the flowing lava that cooled and solidified. Due to the extensive coverage of volcanic rock, there's not much space for cultivation, and the main livelihood of the islanders revolves around fishing. Haenyeo's method of catching marine animals involves simple tools, such as a hook or harpoon. By using these traditional tools and methods, they have minimal impact on the marine environment, keeping the ecosystem intact. Their gentle, fair and sustainable hunting practices mean they don't need to be regulated or controlled by authorities. Haenyeo learn from their experience and real-life interactions with the sea. They learn that the sea is their life and provider, and the marine creatures and plants are their source of food and income. As a result, they treat the sea with respect and gratitude, practicing a harmonious coexistence with the marine world.
바다는 보면은 뭐 나가 어떤 신경질 날 때나 후회가 난 때로 시원해요. 바다는 보면은. 예.
바다는 우리 제주도 여자들한테는 바다가 삶이지 뭐 삶, 라이프.
Almost 100 coastal villages on the island are organized into groups of Haenyeo. Each village has a clearly defined territory for catching marine animals to avoid overlap and conflicts. There are important rules in place, such as not hunting during the breeding season and not catching undersized aquatic animals. They also refrain from using modern tools that could harm marine life and pose a danger to the sea. The Haenyeo work together as a group, never venturing into the sea alone because they are well aware of the risks. Today, they come out of their homes as usual, carrying the tools of their trade in crates. Some use motorcycles to reach the village's port. Those who arrive first begin preparing, putting on their wetsuits, masks, and carrying lead weights of 6 to 10 kilograms to help them dive. They seem to be stronger and more agile than their actual age. Apart from the women of the sea and volcanic rocks, there is another significant element here: the wind. Jeju Island is an open area in the middle of the sea, exposed to winds from all directions, including being on the typhoon path. Today, although the weather and sky seem clear, there is still a gusty wind. When everyone arrives at the ports, they have to make a decision together whether it's safe to go to sea or not, using a simple voting method.
우리끼리 파도가 세면은 못 들어가니까.
그러면 어떤 사람 가자, 어떤 사람 안 가자 할 거 아니야.
공무원 한 달에 하역 붙습니다. 한 달에 한 달에 붙어요. 예.
Far from the mermaid's image in people's imagination, there are no young, enchanting figures with radiant smiles, flawless skin and flowing hair waiting for their prince. Instead, there are only elderly women wearing old-fashioned clothes, tangled hair, and arguing loudly at the port. After expressing their emotions for a while, the majority decide to refrain from going to sea today. Once the conclusion is reached, everyone packed up their equipment and loaded it onto the back of their motorbikes to head home. Although some were dissatisfied, thinking that the wind was not too dangerous, all of them accepted the group decision. Despite carefully catching marine creatures, the sea's conditions have changed drastically, and the catch is now less abundant. They have to venture farther from the coast to find more. Today's strong winds prevented them from going out to sea, so the Haenyeo work close to the shore, diving and swimming, collecting small abalone to keep in the rock crevices, waiting for them to grow big enough to be sold or consumed. Even though they practice traditional diving methods, which may be considered outdated, the way the Haenyeo work aligns with the principles of nature conservation, sustainable fishing, and a democratic way of life. Jeju Island has an average temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, providing a comfortably cool climate throughout the year. The ancient stone houses still stand, and life here moves at a slower pace compared to the mainland. Some Haenyeo here are as old as 80, an age when they should be resting at home. Nonetheless, they continue to hold their breath and dive to make a living. Whether young or old, the Haenyeo are an inspiration to many who are struggling with aging, showing that age is not necessarily a hindrance.
예.